Welcome to this video coverage for round 13 of the candidates. This is the penultimate round, so it's getting to the very decisive stages. This is about the game Karjakin Anand, the most important game of this round, simply because it is the only real opportunity to stop Anand from getting another match with Magnus Carlsen. At the moment he's leading before this game with a +3 score, 3 wins and no loss, the only player in the tournament who has not suffered a loss. In fact, the only player who has not suffered 2 losses. All other players have lost at least 2 games. And he's playing Karjakin, who is on 50%, which sounds like a lot less than +3. It is, it's 1.5 points, but if Karjakin actually would win this game, he would move within half a point of Anand and would actually gain the better tiebreak because he would have won this game. So it is not clear yet, but what is clear, if Anand wins this game, he's absolutely qualified and wins the tournament outright directly after this round. If he draws, it's very likely. With a draw, only Aronian could stop him with 2 wins, which, given the form that Aronian had displayed in this tournament and in the last couple of rounds, does not really seem so likely. So a draw would be excellent for Vichy, a win, of course, even better. Let's see what happens. Karjakin plays d4, which is nowadays also known as the anti-Berlin. Same with knight f3 and c4. Yeah, he's normally an e4 player, but I guess it would have been a safe bet that Anand would have chosen this super solid response with the Berlin defense. So d4 played, and we got a Queen's Gambit with e6. Yeah, Anand had played the Slav earlier in the tournament, more than once, but this time we got e6, the classical way to play. Karjakin now plays knight f3. This was his preparation. Played this quickly. It would have been very interesting to see what Anand would have played after knight c3. In the World Championship match against Magnus Carlsen, he had played c6, which allows this Gambit move e4, and which is a very sharp play. And I really doubt that Anand would have allowed that. So quite interesting. But hard to tell. Maybe he would have gone bishop e7. It's just a guessing game, or yeah, it didn't happen. Knight f3 played, knight f6, and now Karjakin played the move e3, which has been played before in this tournament by Kramnik against Aronian, and Kramnik got a very promising attacking position and actually could have won the game during time trouble. E3 is not the most common move. It looks a bit passive because it blocks in the bishop, but it has a very distinct advantage compared to other lines. It leads to play with all pieces on the board. In lines like the Lasker variation, which Vichy had played, for example, in this decisive game against Topalov in 2010, there it is very likely that you will get a very dry and simplified position, which after e3 is simply not happening. We will get a position with many pieces on the board. Yeah, bishop e7 now played. Aronian had played b6 and transposed to kind of a Queen's Indian formation. Anand avoids that. He's going for bishop e7 and castles first. Now bishop to b2. Yeah, that's in general White's idea. He's playing with the queen side fianchetto, and quite often can try to start some initiative on the king side later. For example, if Black now plays in a somewhat, let's say passive manner, knight bd7, let's say c6. I'm just showing the general idea. Then White would gladly put a knight on e5 and maybe even continue with f4. This is very similar to the Kramnik-Aronian game, and this is quite dangerous for black actually. So Anand was not interested in doing any of those somewhat passive setups. He wants to free the position quite immediately. He plays c5. Karjakin now captured. Yeah, and now with the knight. Yeah, I guess that e takes d here is not terrible for black, but you don't really want to have an isolated queen pawn position here, which is probably, this type of position is probably only very slightly better for white, but it gives white some concrete idea what to do, namely pressurizing the pawn, and this was not necessary at all. So just taking with the knight is sufficient. Okay, yeah, Karjakin now, for me at least, slightly surprisingly took on c5, but maybe there really is not so much else. If you consider something like bishop d3, black will take, and you don't really have a good recapture. E takes d is just a very stupid looking isolated queen pawn position, and there are even direct problems with the move like knight f4, attacking g2, attacking d3. So you probably need to take with a piece, and white is simply not very well placed here. Okay, so he took, it's probably right then. And Anand now didn't recapture. He could have played bishop takes c5, but he played knight d7, trying to get the pawn with the knight, which would be quite nice, obviously. Knight is well placed on c5. So Karjakin decided to drop the pawn on c6, giving black at least a weakness here on c6. Yeah, so white has the better structure. Is this better for white? Maybe slightly, very slightly. The compensation that black has for the weakened pawn structure is the better development. He's got 3 pieces in play already and castles in, so let's say 4. And white only has the 2 pieces here developed, and the king is still in the middle. So what black is trying to do is to use his nicely developed forces here with a5 and here with a4, using his development to try to get rid of the weaknesses and simplify the position as much as possible. Yeah, of course there is a tactical issue already. c6 is hanging, and Karjakin grabbed the pawn, which is probably the right decision. If you play a very slowish move like this, for example, black has no problems at all. He can take on b3 or play bishop a6. If black without any direct problem exchanges a pawn for b pawn, it is just a very equal position. c6 is somewhat weak, but b3 is not much better, so it's probably around equal. Yeah, he took on c6, Karjakin did, and here Anand played the move queen a5, which looks quite quite normal, activating the queen. It covers the attacked rook. Black, however, had a pretty good alternative, which however is easily pointed out by the computer, but not at all apparent for a human player. This is the move rook a5, quite strange looking move, but it's not bad at all. It has a very concrete idea. The queen on c6 is not exactly well placed. If white now tries to grab this, for example, this rook c5, and the queen is trapped, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, okay, white can go here, but after queen c7 it gets very, very tricky. There's knight b6 coming. You won't avoid the queen loss here. White cannot take on a4, so probably needs to retreat, after which black can continue with bishop here and possibly queen to a8. And this is a very substantial compensation already. In some cases, the pawn can be regained really quickly. Let's say like this.
Check.
And wait just a moment. Oops. Yeah, and here black can, for example, play queen to a8, double attacking here and attacking on e4. Yeah, black has a very good development. Rook a5 was even a bit more precise than queen a5. After queen a5, white can take on a4 here, and we get this position where white at the moment is even 2 pawns up, but you can quickly spot that black will get something back. The a pawn here on a4 is simply gone. Yeah, black has lots of activity for the pawn, and the immediate problem is for white, what about this e4 pawn? Yeah, you can try to push it with e5, but after knight d5 it's questionable if white has gained anything. It's yeah, I think black has very good compensation here actually, as e5 is just giving away a square on d5 and not doing much. The problem is you cannot really protect e4 mechanically with some piece. The best move is bishop b5. This is also what Karjakin played. Black now grabs on e4. There is the move bishop to c6. Yeah, quite a problem. So Anand took on a4, getting one of the pawns back and doing so basically with a tempo as the bishop is hanging. And bishop d7. Yeah, we got those trades in, and white still has the pawn. On the other hand, what black has, he's got this pressure along the a file and has some chances to get the a pawn back. Yeah, this position is probably somewhere between slightly better for white and equal. It's probably slightly better for white because black must play very precisely to get the pawn back, and in some cases he doesn't really achieve his aim without conceding something. We will see what happens in the game. It's after rook c1, rook a4, fairly logical, rook c2, rook a8, rook c1. We see that white has substantial play against c5, and yeah, it is the question what black should do now. The problem is that you cannot really yeah, move it away. So black basically has no choice in this position. He cannot move the knight. So he took on a2, which is of course not a happy move, certainly not. But the only move that was still available. Problem is, of course, white can take here with the rook on c5. After bishop takes, the bishop takes, and rook c8. We get this position completely by force. So after move 26, we have reached an endgame already, where white has got bishop and knight against rook. So obviously this position is better for white. He's the only one to have any sort of chance to win the game. But if it is really manageable is an entirely different question. I think that this position is very tough to win, if possible at all. The problem is that from white's point of view, the problem is that it's 4 on 4 on the king side, and these are notoriously difficult to win when you don't get any kind of pass pawn. And here the additional problem is that black's pawns are absolutely ideally placed. There is absolutely no weakness in black's position, and he can also alter the pawn structure slightly. still keeping a position without any substantial weaknesses. This would be entirely different if we would have some pawn weaknesses here. Let's say, for example, just to illustrate my point, if both sides, for example, would miss the f-pawn, yeah, just for argument's sake, let's imagine these are not on the board, then white would immediately be very substantially better, as he could try to play a combined attack against the weakness on e6. I know it's a dark squared bishop, this does not help, but at least a lacking f-pawn would give black some weaknesses. The e6 pawn and also the pawns on g7 and h7 would be somewhat more vulnerable. In this case, there's absolutely no weakness, and this makes it very, very tough to get anywhere. Yeah, Anand plays knight c5, directly attacking here. King e3 and f6. Yeah, f6 prepares the coming move e5, played here, just to get a bit more space and control the center. Yeah, it's not so easy to analyze this type of position. The question is simply, can white provoke any sort of weakness that he can attack with his pieces? I have my doubts, to be honest. It's not easy to tell what kind of weakness you should be able to create with this solid structure. We can continue for a bit and see what happens. Yeah, it's slightly changed on the king side, but it's still not apparent how white can get anywhere. Basically, it's only possible to make any headway if you do any sort of pawn push, like prepare g4 or prepare f4. Without pushing any of the pawns, you won't make any progress whatsoever. It's simply a question of activity of the pieces. Those two pieces that black has left are active, no question. The rook is a nuisance on the second rank. The knight is also actively placed, always attacking on e4. If we look at this now from white's point of view, yeah, what could he try? Maybe at some point you should try f4 just to alter the structure a bit, but I'm not sure if it leads to any substantial progress. Not really. I mean, black is probably just sitting tight and won't do much. Knight d7, I don't know, to take with the knight could be an idea. Not so sure about the best setup. Or maybe black can also play rook a4, attacking on e4. It's really tough to analyze this with concrete lines. Let's say knight d7, just for argument's sake. Knight f3. Yeah. Maybe this is a bit more testing. It's still not like a very easy way to progress. Can even go back here to c5. I think he probably should have tried something like that. Karjakin in the game is keeping the structure. Maybe he also considered that yeah, okay, you can go f4 later. And maybe he wanted to do that with a bit more time on the clock. That's possible. Had some repetitions. Yeah, here in this position, Anand went rook a1. He could have taken on c1, but I don't think that this is particularly helpful. Giving white two knights is I think a bad idea, because knights in this structure are probably the best pieces for white to have, as they are working on just one flank, only the king side. And they are maybe easier to coordinate than a knight and a bishop. So this makes sense to move the rook to a1. And now keeping the rook active. Yeah, knight possibly coming to c4. And now we had passed the time control. So both players got an additional hour for 20 moves. And Karjakin was trying hard to make headway. Here, however, we got a piece trade operation. It was probably unavoidable at the moment. So that we actually get rook against the two pieces without knights on the board. Yeah, and here we have the same problem. How is white ever going to make any progress? Yeah, probably with f4 seems to be the only way forward. And maybe this is what Karjakin should have done earlier, as mentioned. Here, Anand plays the important move g5. He's moving, he's blinking first, so to say, but he wants to make sure that f4 is not easily possible. Yeah, can white play f4 now?
Check.
This is a problem. You cannot do f4 right away. How to progress then without the move? Yeah. I did some brief analysis before I started this video. I didn't have so much time on my hands, but I'm looking a bit while I'm doing the recording and maybe trying to get some ideas. It's very difficult. It's really very difficult. Question now is, of course, should you take on g5 or should you let black take? Yeah, probably you should take. This is what Karjakin did. I mean, this has the benefit of giving white at least two clear points to attack, e5 and g5. The question, however, is this in any way substantial? Does this lead to a win? I don't really know. If you maybe if he just waits. Yeah, well, black is not in any way forced to take. Black can also do the waiting game. Yeah, maybe it's not really mattering much. And white needs to take on g5 anyway. Yeah, okay, this is what he did. And now we try to combine his pieces against the weaknesses. Yeah, g4 to fix this weakness. Yeah, what else is there besides g4? This would be very nice, but is this working? That's the real problem. Go here. Yeah, I can play that move, and it's not easy to coordinate. Going here, it's not helping that much. I also have rook c2, like this, for example. And now maybe I'm starting a very concrete counterplay with the h-pawn. It's yeah, that's no real improvement to the game. He played g4, as I mentioned, to fix the weaknesses, after which Anand replied h4, g4, h4. Yeah, so black has got the passer on the h-file. And it continues, of course, with white trying to attack one of the pawns twice and capturing it. This is quite simple. The question is, can white attack, let's say, e5 twice and take it without any direct problem? And of course, this continued for a very long while. It's Karjakin's only chance this game. But it does not seem that white has any way forward. There's also the simple fact that f3 is also a weakness. That always can be a spot to counter attack. Yeah, here it looks like at first sight, okay, this is nice already. I need to get the knight improved, but how to do it? No, he played king back, but can you actually do that? For example, trying here, here. Yeah, the question is this really working? Something like that. Don't forget the H pawn. If white is doing something like that.
Check.
At the end, there is the H pawn. This, of course, is even worse. Black has a very substantial counterplay with this pawn on H4.
Check.
Yeah, it's always tactical things happening. Here maybe H3 is the reason why this is not working.
Check.
Like this. And how do you stop H2 now? Yeah, there is no way really. The bishop is also tied to the knight. You cannot really move any of the pieces. So we went to F1 and tried further. The other point of attack, of course, is G5. If you would somehow manage to put a bishop on E3, knight on H3 and take it, would be winning.
Check.
But do you actually manage to do that? Here,
check.
You can get the bishop to E3 at some stage.
Check.
Can put a bit more on the board. It's
check.
Lots of repetitions without really being decisive. Here we get to this point. Let's say he played king to G1, but let's say white tries to attack here. Yeah, okay. I'll go here. Go here. Okay.
Check.
There's still the H pawn. Very important resource. Yeah, and what's happening now? It's a slight tactical problem already. If white takes on H3, I'm going to play rook A1. And the question is if black can win. Yeah, here white has absolutely no chances to win.
Check.
Into G1. Yeah, can always counter attack on A3 and combine this with the H pawn counterplay.
Check.
Yeah, this actually happened with H3. King to F1. Yeah, if white takes it on H3, there is rook E2, and this is a very very problematic piece. Now you can go here, rook E3, and now white can try to defend himself with knight E5, but this is obviously not a winning try. Played king F1, H2, and now knight to H1. Karjakin really tried the utmost, trying to now get the pawn on H2, but it's a pin. But of course this is important. If black is just ignoring all that, there's this one, and white will pick up this pawn, and this is probably the win. But there is this pin on the first rank. Cannot move. King is pinned, or the bishop is pinned to the king. Yeah, king E2 played. And in fact, in this position, they already agreed to a draw. It's really nothing that that white can try here. Karjakin gave up at this point and offered the draw. Yeah, black is simply too active. He can just stay on the first rank, and there is no way forward. So Anand did in fact hold this game, hold this draw. It certainly wasn't a very fun experience being in this endgame after 29 moves. But sometimes in these kind of situations where you know that the draw is enough, this kind of, let's say, slight suffering in an endgame can be a relatively good solution for you, because you can very much focus on the task at hand, and you are not irritated by anything or confused by an attack or whatever. You just know, okay, I'm worse and I need to keep this together. And it was, I think, manageable. But very often in this type of end games, if you look at this end game, you always get this slight feeling, and maybe this is also why Carlsen is such a magnificent opponent, that people actually have this big respect or this big fear if they play him, that they would lose this type of position. Yeah, you always get the feeling, yeah, let Magnus play that, he will win this game. For I don't know how he does it, but this type of end game where you normally say, okay, okay, white is a bit better, but no way that is going to end in a win. But he's doing that so often, so you very often you get this feeling. But it is very good for Anand that he has actually that he managed to hold this game, not for the very important reason, of course, that it basically secures the tournament victory, but also it shows him that he can hold this kind of tough, tricky positions in long games where he made many inaccurate moves in earlier games, and especially in the World Championship match, which proved very, very costly. So with this draw, Anand is almost is no, not almost. I'm wrong here, right? The only person who can catch him is Aronian with 2 wins, but he's got the better tiebreak. So with this draw, I can actually, without spoiling anything, say that Anand has qualified. Yes, he has qualified for the match. I must always think about the other results and so on. So he has qualified with this draw to play another match with Magnus Carlsen. I won't do any much comments on this fact. I will do that for the final round video where I sum up the whole tournament a bit. So just for this game, thanks for watching.